Hello, my name's Alex. Welcome to this video about file management in Ableton. It's actually really important to kind of keep on top of all the sounds and how you organise stuff and how you have things ready just to pull into your session, knowing where things are, making preparations in advance of a session, or just outside of the kind of creative process, making sounds, making patches, chopping breaks, and then you've got it there to pull in when you know you need something. So for instance, I have tons of presets that I've created in my user library. Now you can find this under places in Ableton's browser, and I believe it's kind of there as a default. Clips, default, grooves, etc. This is kind of where you can set up your own presets for things, so that whenever you pull in an effect, it pulls in that preset. So I thought I'd show you some of my favourite ways to manage my sounds and kind of create interesting little instruments for myself that I can just pull in when I need them, or have on hand just some of my own sounds for inspiration. So yeah, in my presets, I've got loads of breaks already chopped, and they're already chopped across drum racks, and they can just be pulled in, and I don't have to go through the rigmarole of getting a break, listening to a break, bringing it in, chopping it up, chopping it, blah blah blah. You know, that stuff like that can take like 15-20 minutes of a creative session, and I find when I've done that, it feels like I don't really want to do anything else, or I can already feel my creativity kind of flagging a little. Anyway, right, so what I thought I'd do is demonstrate a few ways that I create my own presets. Now first, whenever I do anything, I save it with an AW prefix, which is my initials, and I'd suggest you do the same if you create anything, because then I can just go like this in Ableton's browser, and anything that I've saved with an AW preset, I've got loads of stuff, I've got hundreds of things that I've just created over the years, in sessions. And because I've saved it with the AW, it's there to, I can't even remember what half these things are, but there's so much stuff that I can just be like, oh yeah, I'll see what this is. That's the Ned Rush thing, but I've saved it as AW. So that is the first tip, and I can't mention that tip without crediting Brian Funk, formerly Afro DJ Matt, because I got that from him, and it's a brilliant tip. And he's done loads of stuff about staying organised, staying creative, including creating your own favourites, which I did have in 10, but for some reason they don't pull across. I'd kind of created my own favourite groups, and it's probably something I'm going to do again. This time I might do it by kind of instrument types, so drums and bass, pads, that type of thing, before there are slightly different categories. It's a good chance to kind of refresh. So another reason I do stuff like this is I was finding I was buying sample packs and then just never using any of the sounds in them because I'd forgotten they were there. So creating kind of these presets where I pull in all the sounds together, save it with the AW, save it with a keyword like bass, then I can just search in Live's browser, or it can pull it up, and that would be a good thing to add to a bass favourite in the collections. So I'm going to demonstrate creating one patch using a sampler with the basses from the Jungle Warfare CD Volume 1. So I found this on archive.org, but I looked for it recently and it looks like it's been taken down. So I'll collect up and save this set with some of these bass sounds. So yeah, we've got Jungle or Jungle and drum and bass staples. Nice, so good. Okay, so what am I going to do here? I'm going to get a sampler. I'm going to just pull that in like that. And then I'm in the zone area here. I think that's right, or this, whatever this is called, the sample bank, I guess. So back to samples. I'm just going to pull all of those in here. Okay, and it looks like the root's they're all mapped differently. So I'm just going to go to the root, double click to restore to default, which is C3. And so now if I played a note here, it would play every single sample, but we don't want to do that. So how many have we got selected here? How many samples have we got? Does it tell us in here? Maybe it's here. So we've got 19 samples here, 19 bass samples. I'm going to go into the selector. I'm going to check they're all selected. I'm going to pull that down. Now include 0 here. It's inclusive of 0, so it's 1 less than the number you need. And okay, I've pulled the selector ranges down to 19. I'm going to highlight them all again and right-click, distribute ranges equally. Brilliant. Okay. Now I'm going to go to my sampler. I'm going to group it, and I'm going to set up a macro control here. I'm going to call this selector. And these are all set as I want them. I'm going to set this to macro 8. I'm going to call this DP, just prefer the way it looks. Now, presumably, these might have different pitches, so I'm also going to map the pitch. Put that on 4. Pitch. You can map more control to this, like the filter can be quite good sometimes. And if you want to get really deep, you know, the sampler's got loads of modulation options. It's really good. So anyway, we've got our sounds here, and this is kind of a chain within sampler. So I'm going to map this selector to selector in the macro group. And that, of course, if we do that, it's going to go beyond where there are any sounds. I've got my keyboard here. Okay, so I'm going to go into map. I'm going to pull this down to 18. I think it's the same thing, inclusive. Yep. Brilliant. And I'll tell you what else I'm going to pull in that's really handy is a tuner. And we can see it's kind of modulating around C there. So what's this, like 808 like? It's got some pitchy business on it. Yeah, see, that looks like it's a G, so maybe drop it down a fifth to a C. And you might want to go in and kind of tweak it a bit more. Okay, great. And I'd save that something like AW Jungle Warfare 1 bass rack. I'll put YouTube there because I think I have created one of these before. And there we go, that's all saved. Well, sorry, it's not saved. We then have to go to user library, into my presets, and we can just drag it in there. And there it is. There's the preset saved in my library. You can also, I think you can also save it as an effect wrap if you have to do that before we pull it into my presets. Sorry, as an instrument rack. Okay, so next time I load up a session, it's a jungly sounding thing. I know I can just pull in this bass rack and it's just going to work, and it's all the sounds. And rather than be auditioning sounds in the browser, I've got stuff ready to go here. And I'd probably not have the velocity on. Sick. Where are you going to save it? Yep. So I might create a bass line with that. And then rather than having to re-audition sounds or load it up in, I mean, you could do the same thing where you're pulling it in, but I've already got the sounds here. Sorted. Okay, another thing I like to do is to create loads of kind of breakbeat racks. And so this is one I created in an earlier video, and I think I did actually save it. And you know, I'm able to just pull this in, and I've already got the pre-programmed patterns. And they're ready to go, and if I feel like it here, I can start recording some more. I've got the master clip here, so that I can create patterns easily just using that. Really good, really quick to get the creative juices flowing. Just saving yourself time in the future. Another thing I like to do it with is effects. Another thing I like to do is just save channels. You can also save channels just by pulling them into my presets like we did here with the Tears of the Killer break. I'm not going to do that. So you can put anything in here, and maybe if we just create a new channel, and let's see what else is in this Jungle Warfare. So instruments, what else have we got in instruments? Got the basses, special effects. You know, you could do the same thing here where you could create another little... I know this looks crazy. Okay, so we've pulled them in here. I'm going to go into them, and I'm going to turn off loop, and I'm going to turn off warp. And with jungle music, a lot of things happen every 8 bars, and kind of in multiples of those. The same with all dance music. So I'm going to just do something fun and create maybe some follow actions on this, follow action. And every 8 bars, I'm going to have it just play another thing, another sample, just randomly choose one, and maybe we put some delays on this too, just turn it down a bit so it's not too crazy. And that's going to do its little thing every 8 bars. So before we get carried away, I've now got this, I'm going to title it something like AW Jungle Warfare 1 Effects, and it should keep the follow actions. And then when I'm jamming, I could just pull this in, fire it off, it's going to do its thing every 8 bars, and I could just kind of respond to that. It's going to pick it randomly. You could do the same with any samples you put in here. I've done it before with like pirate radio samples that I've got, so let's put that in here. And let's just see if it does retain the follow actions. So it's got them all in here, and if you did that, there you go, you see they've all been pulled in there. So let's just pull it in again, test that out. Oh, no, didn't want to do that. I want to be up the top, please. No, it's not letting us do that. Okay, fine. There we go. Record that. Sounds pretty good. So yeah, we've created a kind of bass patch there. I did test this for a long time using simplers instead and kind of grouped them and mapped macro controls, but I actually think just using a sampler works better most of the time. You don't have the warp modes, and you may want to do that like I did in previous videos with the breaks where I've explored using different warp modes. And then you would want to use a simpler rather than a sampler. But this just works great when you're trying to manage a large bank of samples. So maybe we could find an example of I think I created one for the pads as well. So let's AW, and it will be an instrument rack. And have we got a JW? JW pads rack, here we go. So maybe get some more stuff happening. Just a prime example of how quickly it is to get a track happening, or just some ideas flowing. And here I've including, now I have done this in simpler, but I've kind of made it into banks. Now I think I'd actually do that in sampler. I think it's easier to manage, but this is a good example of improving with practice and time. And I'd probably pull in another break at this point. Again, working practice of a bit of file management in advance can really save you time when you're in the creative moment. So I think, you know, I'd probably want, I'm hearing a think with that. I use this all the time. Love this break. What we got? See, I've already programmed some patches, some MIDI clips in here, super helpful. I probably want something like this. I want the little James Brown bit happening more often. So there we go. I'll collect and save this setup. Experiment yourself. Find how you like to organise things. Imagine you're an artist in a studio and you just need your tools on hand. You need to know where everything is, because in the heat of the creative moment, you need to be able to pull these things in without having to think about where's that snare drum, where's that kick. Make your own presets. Just start doing it. Build them up. They'll be rubbish at first. Mine were, particularly if you're programming synth patches. But over time, you'll improve and you'll have all these samples to put in your tracks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.